Okay, are we all set? Crystal, you're all set? Yeah? Great.
Yes.
Great. And I see Supervisor Bushnell is here with us from remote at RCRC. So after we do the call to order, flag salute, and roll call, then we'll have you make your statement for participation, Supervisor Bushnell. So we'll call this meeting of LAFCo on September 17th to order. And will you all join me in the flag salute, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And with that, Crystal, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. All right. We have Commissioner Matthews,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly,
Here.
Commissioner Nicolini,
Absent.
okay, thank you. Commissioner Benzanelli,
Here.
thank you. Commissioner Weinreb,
Here.
do we have Chair Madrone?
Present.
Wonderful. Alternate Commissioner Wilson,
Absent.
alternate Commissioner Garnes,
Absent.
alternate Commissioner Couch,
Absent.
and alternate Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Great. And Commissioner Bushnell, I'm assuming you're remote, I know that, and you're wanting to participate, so I believe you'll have a statement to make here at the beginning of our meeting.
Sure. So, Crystal, do I need to be counted for roll call?
Oh, yes. I thought I did. My apologies.
Okay.
Commissioner Bushnell.
Present remotely.
Thank you.
So
Right.
Go ahead, Chair.
Yeah, just I believe you need to make a statement about the reasons for your remote participation and the anybody 18 or older in the room, that type of stuff.
Sure. So I'm participating remotely from Olympic Valley. I am in a room that has access with nobody under 18, and I'm remote because I'm on county business at RCRC conference.
Great, thank you very much for that. And just for the record, Commissioner Nicolini has just arrived. So we now have 6, quorum plus.
Thank you.
That's great. All right, thank you, everybody. So we'll do public comment. Members of the public may address the commission concerning non-agenda items during this time. Please note the commission is not permitted to discuss or take action on items not on the agenda. And you will have 3 minutes. And so is there any public comment here today in the room? Seeing no one moving towards the podium, is there any online?
Seeing no hands raised.
All right, thank you very much, Colette. All right, so next we'll go to our consent calendar, which are typically routine items. And any commissioner may request an item to be removed. Does anybody want to remove the one item there, which is approval of our September 3rd, 2025 special meeting minutes? Anyone want to pull that item? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the September 3rd, 2025 special meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment? None here in the room? None online? All right, let's, do we need a voice vote? Can we just do a voice vote on that?
We need roll call for everything today.
Roll call for everything today. Okay, great. Roll call, please, Crystal.
Got it. Okay. Commissioner Nicolini.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Benzanelli.
Aye.
Commissioner Weinreb.
Aye.
Commissioner Bushnell.
Yes.
Chair Madrone.
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews.
Yes.
And Commissioner Kelly.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Great. Thank you very much. Item 6 on our agenda is a public hearing item, and members of the public may address the commission on this item when we open up that period. The chair may regulate the order of presentations and may limit the time allocated. We just have the one presentation, and that is the Neeland Fire Protection District Goodwill Annexation Reconsideration. The item is a continuation of the noticed public hearing at the August 20th and September 3rd meetings, special meetings. The Commission will consider approving with conditions, or denying a reconsideration request submitted by the Humboldt Redwood Company regarding the previously approved Neeland Fire Protection District Goodwill Annexation and Sphere of Influence Amendment, Resolution number 25-03. And I assume we're going to start with a staff report?
Thank you. All right. Thanks for that introduction. This is the third meeting, third hearing on this reconsideration request. The commission did approve the annexation on May 21st, 2025. And the annexation included 503 parcels, 61,000 acres. And within 30 days, the commission received a reconsideration request from Humboldt Redwood Company. The commission met on August 20th and continued that reconsideration hearing on September 3rd. There was also a closed session based on threat of litigation. And, you know, the commission's really been grappling with the request stemming from the exclusion of commercial forest lands that is provided in the Fire Protection District Law statute, specifically Section 13811, which states that commercial forest lands, which are timbered lands, may not be included within Fire Protection District boundaries. We've really documented the extent of this issue. In Humboldt County, there are commercial forest lands throughout the county. There's commercial forest lands, including Humboldt Redwood Company owned land within existing fire district boundaries that have been included in district boundaries since those districts were formed. There's not a definition, not even a strong definition. There is no definition of what constitutes commercial timberlands within Fire Protection District law. And so we are looking at this request for reconsideration specifically regarding Humboldt Redwood Company's parcels within Neeland's annexation area. However, this is a broader issue. We've looked at the policy implications for excluding those parcels. It creates irregular boundaries for Neeland. It creates a hole within their district boundary, and LAFCo's responsibility in reviewing annexations and formations is logical, efficient boundaries. So this is a challenge for the commission. It also creates inequities with regard to who's paying Neeland special tax. And so Neeland did approve a special tax in November of 2024 that repealed and replaced two existing special taxes that they had in place. And they included a contiguous parcel exemption, knowing that the annexation area included large swaths of undeveloped territory that are held in some instances by the same landowner. So we're thinking large ranch lands or commercial or timberlands. And so that contiguous parcel exemption provided for relief to those landowners that held undeveloped contiguous parcels and would be considered one parcel for purposes of the special tax. And so that was something that was brought forward to this annexation. I think since the last meeting, the Humboldt Redwood Company and Mendocino Redwood Company has notified 33 fire districts within 3 counties of their intent to no longer pay special taxes, assessments, and possibly fees. They include the term fees in their letter. And this is for existing fire districts that have Humboldt Redwood Company or Mendocino Redwood Company parcels within their district boundaries. And they're citing section 13811 in noting that the law does not allow commercial forest lands to be included within fire district boundaries. So in all intents and purposes, those commercial forest lands, even though they're within the jurisdictional boundary, are not within the boundary and therefore cannot be taxed. So this, again, has large implications for fire districts. And this is just Humboldt Redwood Company requesting this exclusion. There's a domino effect that is likely going to happen with regard to other industrial timber companies requesting something similar throughout the state. As well as, again, the lack of definition for commercial forest lands, which are timbered lands, being not undefined, provides, again, for a domino effect for other small or private landowners with forested lands on their property, even if it's developed, to potentially request exclusion. The commission requested, really has been grappling again with regard to this annexation. There is one developed property or improved property that is HRC owned. So of the 17 parcels, one is improved and it is habitable. And so there's the challenge for the commission is, again, determining whether all 17 should be excluded or only 16 and maintain this the improved parcel within the annexation area. HRC's counsel testified that the current case law and statute does not distinguish between improved or unimproved. And so there's really, again, it's unclear. But you go to fire protection district law, and it's very clear that fire protection districts have the authority to provide structure fire protection, rescue, emergency medical services, hazardous material responses. These responses, there are these types of responses within commercial forest lands. There is a demand for local fire protection services within commercial forest lands, and that's the fairness aspect that the commission has also been grappling with. This statute really, I think is intended in SRA lands to really distinguish that the state or CAL FIRE has sole authority for wildland fire protection. And that's very clear, and no one's, there's a strong relationship between CAL FIRE and the local fire districts. They work very closely together and support each other. But there is no duplication of authority. But even still, there's a statement in the code that says except for commercial forest lands, which are timbered lands. Staff has included a proposed condition to provide that Neeland Fire Protection District work, should this reconsideration request be approved and those parcels be excluded, they would come back with a policy providing that they address the administratively providing an opportunity for landowners within the annexation area to be able to request exclusion from their special tax. And so this is really to provide the opportunity for the district to develop a policy and really administratively be able to address this issue when they are approached by property owners, both within their existing district and the annexation area related to their special tax. It's again, they likely or will have concerns with regard to how to define or establish criteria for implementation. And I don't believe that the district will be able to define this. You know, it's not defined in state law. The district shouldn't have that responsibility to define what commercial forest lands what commercial forest lands or timberlands represent. But this policy would be more to provide to document that the code, the statutory exclusion exists in fire protection district law. CAL FIRE has Wildland Fire Authority. The district has responsibility for structure, medical, EMS, and all risk services, and the ability for landowners to be able to request the board's consideration of exclusion or exemption from the special tax. With that, I will, if Ryan has anything to add, at this time, LAFCo staff is recommending that all 17 parcels be excluded, again, because of the threat of litigation, but recommending this condition be included to support the Neyland's administration of their special tax. We do have Chief Rowe in the audience. We also have President Lindsay Green, and then we also have Chief Citro from Humboldt Bay Fire, and I have also spoken with Chief McCrae at CAL FIRE.
He's back there.
Is he? Oh, you snuck in, and he is here as well. So I'm going to open up. The chiefs have very limited time. There's some meetings at like 9:30, so I'd like to be quick with the discussion and hopefully open it up to public comment.
Great, thank you for that report. And just to be clear, in the staff report, you've got option 1, option 2. Staff are recommending option 2, but as listed here, it doesn't include that condition. That would be a separate item that would need to be added if the commission decided to do that. I don't think it's...
The condition is in the resolution.
Oh, it is, okay, yes, great.
And I have copies of the resolution
Okay.
up there as well, and you'll see the condition language in that.
Okay, great, appreciate that. And Ryan, I believe I probably should reopen the public hearing, technically, at this point. So we're back in an open public hearing. And at this point, Ryan, did you have some things you want to share with us, please?
No, I think Colette did a good job of explaining the difficulty here. There are some similar definitions to commercial timberland that are in the tax code that are very expansive, and I think they're expansive for a reason. And the definitions in that contextual context, I don't think should apply to this contextual context. And so we would want to work with the Neyland board to develop a policy and a definition that recognizes fire district's primary responsibility for structure-related fires, CAL FIRE's responsibility for wildland fires, and then allow a process for landowners that fall within the commercial forest land definition to apply for an exemption year by year and build that into the existing ordinance. With that, I'm happy to send it back for any comments, questions.
Great, thank you for that. Any questions of Ryan why we have him? Not at this point. Okay, and at this point, I think we'll ask Neyland first to come up because this is their baby. So if you would like to come up and offer to us any comment at this point, it probably won't be your last time. I imagine there may be other questions as we go along, but for an introduction, please.
Sorry, you said introduction? So I'm actually the secretary of the board, but I'll take the promotion, but no, maybe not.
Yeah.
So Lindsay Green, secretary of the board, and chief annexation researcher.
Yep. Wes Rowe, fire chief for the district.
Yeah, and I think I think I might save most of my comments until they have a chance to speak since they're in a hurry. But I will say we had a board meeting last night, and the idea of us developing a policy, which really essentially is developing a definition, is a real challenge for us. It's a real challenge because there's no case law. And so the legal risk is going to be on us. You know, the business taxes law code, I think, is what Ryan was just referencing. And it's like, it defines timberlands as the ability to grow 15 cubic feet per acre. That's like a stick. It's the whole district for us, essentially. So I can elaborate on that a bit more. That's our concern as a district, to be holding that weight and that legal risk. So I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I just reinforced that. We had our board meeting last night, and that was part of our discussion, was reviewing this and just the risks that we have as a district that we feel like we're opening ourselves up to. I think that's something that we, need some more time to consider. It's one of the things that we talked about. This is a pretty big decision with a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving parts. We tried to put it together as much as we could last night, but I think it's something that we're going to need some more time to consider. But I am curious and hearing possibly CAL FIRE's stance on this as well, and just kind of moving through the rest of this meeting and kind of seeing what we can come up with. But yeah, I feel like we're in a bit of a position as a board and a district where we have to really sit down and think this through pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, and one thing I will say to put on the table right now is that I shared this with Colette, that 2 months ago when we were here for the July meeting, as I stood here in front of you, there was an iPhone in the woods on Humboldt Redwood Company lands. And I didn't know that they have this feature, but they have a crash detection feature which automatically dials 911. So as we initiated this conversation about reconsideration of the configuration, Volunteer Wes was dispatched to Humboldt Redwood Company lands for a possible medical emergency. And so to me, part of this, do we define commercial timberlands, is a painful distraction from our core mission, which is much broader. 2 out of 3 of our calls are medical in nature. On top, I think you said last night, to a high degree of confidence, north of 90% of our calls are not wildland, and they are in the grazing lands.
That's correct. Yep.
So this is just such a bigger challenge for us, and I don't want to lose sight of our core mission here, and that in defining it, we could lose the ability to sustain ourselves.
So while we have you up here at the mic, there may be questions from the commission, but I'm hearing you say that on the resolution that's proposed to or up for consideration today, Resolution 06, item 5E is the section that talks about this adopting a written policy addressing this commercial timberland issue. It's underlined, and so if I'm hearing you correctly, you're suggesting that you not be required to adopt it, but consider, perhaps, so that we may have to consider, depending on what your perspective is and what the commission feels, some modification to the resolution in order to meet what you're saying. Am I clear on what you're asking there?
Yeah, I mean, if Ryan, with his big legal brain, can figure out how to thread this needle, we're open. But every which way I've looked at it and every rabbit hole I've gone down, I don't see a pathway that doesn't put us in legal and financial jeopardy.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that because it says adopt. You shall adopt. Okay. Thanks for that clarification. Are there any questions for them from the commission?
I guess my only question, and maybe we'll save it for later, was who's writing the policy? So adopting a policy implies that someone's writing it. I think Neeland is saying they're not really comfortable doing it. LAFCo's not necessarily comfortable doing it. So as we go along, I think that was just, as I read this, that was the first thing that popped into my head, was we're moving this to Neeland's responsibility, and I don't think that's necessarily, where we want to go, so. Well,
and as our counsel said in his presentation, it would be something we'd work on together, but yeah, there's some questions here about how that all works.
So no question yet, but I think that's bears some further discussion.
Okay. Ryan?
Yeah, Commissioner Kelly, it would be Neeland Fire's policy. So they would develop it, adopt it, and apply it going forward. LAFCo's role would end with the adoption of the resolution today, if that's the way the commission goes. The annexation would just not be deemed complete until that condition compliance is complete on Neeland's side. And if, Chief, if I'm hearing you right, your board may want some additional time to consider whether or not that this condition is acceptable to the board.
That's correct. That's my feeling on it. I think, Lindsay, you'd agree, correct? Yeah.
Well, and that could hold things up even further, couldn't it? I guess, and that's been a big consideration as well. Any commissioners have any questions while they're here at the podium? Yes, Commissioner Benzanelli.
I don't see 5E in the resolution that's in this packet.
I printed a separate resolution, and it's in front of you. I printed out 7 versions of that.
I got it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry that
Yep.
version did not make it to the packet distributed to you at first, but we resent it and it included it, and it's on the website.
Great, thank you. Any other commissioners? Seeing none, thank you. I'm sure we'll be talking.
Bushnell has her hand up.
Oh, Commissioner Bushnell, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So my question is, if, with what Ryan said, that means that the annexation wouldn't go through until that policy is written and adopted. Does that mean that the taxation wouldn't start until that is complete?
The currently the district that special tax is approved. It was approved by 2/3 voter approval, and within the existing district boundary, this August 10th, they submitted their direct charge list, and that is based on the new special tax that was approved. So they are already have implemented their special tax within their existing district. And with this policy in future years could provide for additional clarity around the commercial forest lands issue.
Okay, so I'm trying to, so their annexation extension, it would just exclude the forest or HRC properties, I guess, but they would, until they develop the policy, but they would be able to retain or be able to start receiving the taxation from the other ones.
Good
Is that
question.
correct?
Yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. So the annexation wouldn't be, it's likely going to take a while for it to be effective. And this policy would be in place in order for that to be effective. And once it is, the existing special tax would be applied to the annexation area. The 17 parcels would be excluded from the annexation area and would not be within their jurisdictional boundaries. And so those parcels wouldn't apply. And then the policy would apply to any other parcels that may be considered commercial forest lands within their existing district or annexation area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions from the commissioners here, thank you. And we'll go next to CAL FIRE Chief McCrae.
Good morning, and thank you for your time. I'd like to compliment the executive officer for doing a very fine job explaining the situation. But in short, I think the problem is the definition of commercial forest lands is not defined in any state statute that I'm aware of. And that is the foundation of this discussion and this problem. Respectfully, for the respect of the fire departments, not only Neeland, but paid and professional throughout this county and throughout the state, any improved property, I believe, does deserve the consideration of annexation and the respective fees. And with respect to that, this is a monumental decision, even though it may seem small for a relatively small fire department. But this, whatever decisions made here could affect other decisions from other landowners, regardless of size, not only in Humboldt County, but all parts of California. So with respect to that, I suggest you consider the one parcel that is improved is considered for annexation in the respective taxation. So thank you very much. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, hang on. Let's see if, yeah, we do have questions. I assume so. Commissioner Nicolini.
Thank you for those very clear statements. Do you mind if I ask, do your statements reflect CAL FIRE's official position? I mean, you're wearing the uniform, so is it fair to say that?
No,
Sorry.
those reflect my
Okay,
positions.
okay.
And Board Member Nicolini,
Yeah.
this discussion I had with my chain of command in region in Sacramento last night, and it is raising some very large questions in their eyes. So I will work to put forward Colette some type of collective assessment on this situation.
Okay.
As I said before, this is a monumental issue that's founded on a lack of a definition. And one of the possibilities here is if the definition is not clearly defined, then any landowner with forest land, regardless of size or intent or management,
Right.
might opt to not pay their respective annexation or taxation related fees.
Thank you for clarifying that. I want
you.
to say your comments are really carrying a lot of weight with me because personally, I'm deciding whether to fight hard to do the right thing in the long term for the larger scale, or So, thank you very much for your insights.
You're very welcome. Any other questions?
Commissioner Benzanelli.
Do you feel that the committee that you met with last night would be willing to join and support a legal? I mean, that's what we're looking at here is basically we're being threatened with a lawsuit, and if we don't vote a certain way. We're a little teeny LAFCo here. This is a little teeny fire district here. It's all really beyond our financial ability to fight. But if we started to join forces in a larger way, it may be something we could see being able to make a change. Would you be willing to join?
I'm not authorized to speak holistically for CAL FIRE, but I will do my best to provide some type of advice or suggestion to your executive officer. But I think, in short, the best way to solve this issue, not here for just Neyland Fire Department, Humboldt County, or all fire departments in California, the best way to solve this problem, in my opinion, is to advocate for legislative change in statute by providing a definition for commercial forest lands.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, seeing no other commissioners, I'll ask a quick question. And that is, would you agree that the past assumption of what commercial timberland was used to typically be primarily corporate timberlands? I mean, that's what most people saw. But that's changed dramatically over the years. I mean, even in the 60s, when there was the ad valorem tax, there was a lot of timber activity on private parcels, frankly, because of that standing timber tax. But today we've got massive expansion of licensed timber operators, all the CAL FIRE exemptions for the 0 to 150, 150 to 300, 3-acre exemptions, all kinds of things. And so all kinds of people with forest land are engaged in commercial activity on their forest lands. Would you agree that things have changed a lot in that regard? Not that that gives us a definition, but it certainly is fodder for that discussion, is it not?
Without a doubt, and to cloud this issue further, within the Public Resources Code, commercial timberlands is defined as any lands capable, available for growing and harvesting timber. And there are two specific groups of forest species, tree species. So that near term, or that similar term, also clouds the issue because commercialization of forest products can occur on very small parcels as well as very large parcels. So again, I think going back to the definition that's cited in Health and Safety Code 13811 needs a clear and definitive definition to resolve this issue here locally as well as across the state.
Great, I appreciate that. I was on the phone this morning with Assemblyman Rogers' staff in regards to this issue, and so a lot of people are just hearing about this. And I think in your introductory comments, you emphasized how important the partnerships are with CAL FIRE and the local fire districts in terms of providing all kinds of protection for our communities, including mostly medical calls and other things. Whether there's a structure there or not, in a logging operation, you could have a medical call, and they happen quite often, actually. So I appreciated that emphasis that you placed on the partnerships that we've tried to build to protect our communities. So thank you for that.
Thank you, and well said. One added item: CAL FIRE's only mandated responsibility is suppressing wildfires. So while we are an all-risk mission department, we don't have that obligation in statute, and that is where the service and the partnership of paid and professional fire departments on the local level complement what CAL FIRE does, and in our best ability, we try to complement their services as well. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for your time, and thanks for being here. Okay, and Chief from Humboldt Bay Fire. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Tim Citra. I'm the Fire Chief from Humboldt Bay Fire, and I'm the de facto Fire Chief of the Humboldt Fire District Number 1, since they are one of our parent agencies for our Joint Powers Authority. First thing, I'd like to echo what Chief McCrae said in two different things. Number one, I do believe legislation is the key to this solution. And number two, I've been involved in the local fire service here in Humboldt County for over 30 years, and our relationship with CAL FIRE and the local fire districts has never been better as it has now, supporting each other. So I don't think this is a CAL FIRE versus local fire department issue at all. So please don't think of it that way. Just to let you know, on September 2nd, I received a letter from HRC addressed to the Humboldt Fire District Number 1 Board of Directors, stating that they will no longer pay for the 3 benefit assessments that Humboldt Number 1 Fire Protection District has. Not putting in for asking the board for an exemption, just stating we're not going to pay it anymore. And I followed up that conversation with a representative from HRC, and that stance was still there. We have not had a fire district board meeting since I received this letter. We're having one next week. Well, this letter will be introduced to the board. We did get a legal opinion from our legal counsel on this issue, and it was pretty much similar to what we've all heard before, which is based on 13.8.111, yeah, they technically don't have to pay because of commercial timberland within the SRA. But again, our legal also identified that kind of discrepancy of what is commercial timberland, what isn't, what's consistent, what's not. For Humboldt Fire District Number 1 specifically, it includes 14 parcels within our fire district, and the charges do not amount to much. That does not really affect our operational finances very much at all. It amounts to about $400 since they're all unimproved parcels. But for the smaller fire districts in the county, this could be huge. This is incredible. And I will say this, we are Nealon's border partner, and we respond with them a lot to a lot of the critical incidents that they have, including some on forest lands. And we have some of our own in the Humboldt Fire District Number 1. And it is our responsibility as firefighters, straight up, that we have a duty to act. And we don't discern between whether you pay or you don't pay or whatever. We're going to go and we're going to help and provide the service that's needed regardless. So it's not a question of, are we going to retract our service from these parcels? That's not going to happen. We're just not going to do that. But there is cost associated with providing that service. So that's the question I have to present to my board and have them answer. Humboldt Fire District Number 1 does have a board policy in regards to exemptions for the benefit assessment. This is not addressed in that policy whatsoever because we didn't even know about it until the beginning of this month. That policy is more specific to property owners being able to ask for exemptions based on parcels having no fire protection value and or obviously the disabled veterans exemption that exists in state law. So it's going to be an interesting board meeting for me to try and explain this situation. That's why I'm here today, not only to educate myself on the LAFCo issues, but to be able to explain to them where this is all coming from and the nexus of this entire issue that we're talking about today. The other thing that was stated in the letter was basically it's may become a LAFCo issue is HRC is claiming that the their commercial timberlands by law cannot be even within the boundaries of a fire district, even though they have been. So are they requesting to, for lack of a better term, secede from the fire district, remove themselves? How does that work? That could be a LAFCo issue that we'll have to work with Colette on. So there's all kinds of varying things going on. And I do know in talking to Chief McCrae that other fire districts have received these letters too. So it could have a very large impact on the local fire service. So I just wanted to inform you that that's where we are and what's going to happen. So, and I support Neyland Fire District 100% in their annexation. I think it's critical. They've been responding to these Goodwill areas. So anyway, if you have any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer for you.
Appreciate it, Chief. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Any questions from commissioners? You brought up, $400. That's not a lot for you. It's
No.
certainly not a lot for HRC to pay.
No.
At our previous meetings, there was a lot of talk about precedents being set by Neyland, including them in their annexation, and it's
or direct charges on anymore. That won't happen. So
well, that is very commendable as
Yeah.
first responders.
Yes.
You're never going to shirk that
No.
responsibility whatsoever. And of course, districts do have the option of billing out of district responses, but from what I hear, it's cumbersome, it's difficult, and you don't always get paid back, even though there's the ability to do it. So many people end up not doing it because it doesn't actually turn out to be very fruitful.
Fruitful, exactly. And that was one of the suggestions I made to Colette. Humboldt Bay Fire, the Humboldt Fire District number 1, we have a fee schedule that's adopted through resolution. And I know Arcata Fire District has it in their fee schedule too, to bill for out-of-district responses into their Goodwill areas if necessary. I've never really enforced that at all because I don't think that's fair to property owners. But in this situation, that may be something that the board would choose to want to do. So, anyway.
Thank you. Any other commissioner questions, comments? No? Okay. Thank you very much for being here. And was there anybody else that from the fire? Yeah, please come back up.
I just wanted to drill down into 2 pieces of the code that are really concerning me about the policy. And they actually have to do with the improved parcel. There are 2 places you can go to look for where you might define this. One is the Public Resources Code that governs forest and forestry. And that's it's more of a technical definition, 10% forested of native species. But it sends you over to the Business Taxes Law Code, and that references compatible uses with forestry. And 2 of the compatible uses are grazing and residential use. And the residential use, I don't have my glasses on, a residence or other structure necessary for the management of land zoned as timberland production. So this is the one place where it does have a nexus with zoning, but HRC has been willing to fight. They could say that's a necessary structure as a protective presence for the timberlands. So if that improved parcel is included, I have to assume any residential structure within TPZ could defensibly be considered necessary for forest management. So between the fact that, it could be defined as, growing 15 cubic feet per acre, it could be defined as residential use, it could be defined as grazing. This is like 90% of our district. It's probably 90% of Bryceland. It's a lot of Salmon Creek. It's a lot of Garberville. It's like 30% of Arcata, I think. So it is very much precedent setting. And it's, again, because there's no case law, for Neyland to develop a policy with those kinds of ambiguities is really scary for us.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've had some nice presentations. Thank you all for being here. We'll bring it back to the commission for comments, to discussion. Anybody want to kick us off? Yeah, Commissioner Benzanelli.
So I'm not familiar enough with agency charters and rules to really understand if we have small fire districts and we're calling them special fire districts, but what they're doing is our community resources, all of these other things, accidents, hazmat, search and rescue, would there be a way to change their charter so they were community services districts that also did a little fire?
Yeah, and so as of right now, Community Services District Law, which is in the government code, specifies the, it's the principal act for Community Services District. It lays out territory that can be within the boundary, how boards are structured and governed, and then in the authorized services section, it lists 32 different types of services that districts can provide. And one of those is fire protection services consistent with fire protection district law. And so it points to that the health, oops, I leaned on my phone. It points to fire protection district law in the health and safety code. And so that's where community services districts that provide fire services that have Humboldt Redwood Company or Mendocino Company owned land are also receiving these letters. And so Anderson Valley Community Services District in Mendocino County has received a letter, and I'm assuming, I don't know every single district that has received a letter, but I'm assuming there's, Carlotta, CSD, they're pretty small. They may not have commercial forest lands, but they may. Fieldbrook Glendale CSD provides fire services. So we have some CSDs that provide fire services. I do want to note that in the boundary section of Community Services District Law, it is silent on this issue, whereas the boundary section in Fire Protection District Law has this exclusion. Also, I want to note that County Service Area Law provides more clarification of commercial forest lands, and it does look like it allows for findings and allows for inclusion with specific determinations and findings. So there is a discrepancy between different special district acts, whether it be Community Service District Law, Fire Protection District Law, or County Service Area Law, or even Resort Improvement District Law. We have a Resort Improvement District in Shelter Cove that provides fire services. So there's discrepancy, and I think that's where there needs to be some legislative clarity with regard to the definition, but then also to really look at, should there be an exclusion for commercial forest lands? Or are there instances where commercial forest lands, again, once it's better defined, that there are times when inclusion of commercial forest lands that are within communities and woven within our communities and demand services should be within fire protection district boundary. So I don't think it's only the definition that needs to be clarified. I think it also needs to be clarified that when there are demand for services, that commercial forest lands exclusion should not be provided for.
You good? Well, are you done? Maybe not good. Commissioner Nicolini.
I'll be honest, my head is kind of spinning on this now. I want to make sure I'm clear. I feel like I heard CAL FIRE and Neelan both say don't exclude the parcel with a residence because that is going to set a precedent. But it seems like a snowball effect. It seems like the snowball is rolling down the hill already. And I want to make sure I'm clear. I think I heard Colette say in her overview that HRC has said that they would fight that parcel being included.
We don't know, but in testimony, they did say that the law did not distinguish between improved or unimproved. So they did specify that.
Okay, and I think Ryan maybe was going to check in with them and see if they would fight over that one parcel. Did by any chance do we have any insights into their state of mind on that issue?
My understanding is that they are going to pursue their definition of commercial forest land, which does not distinguish between improved and unimproved.
Yeah.
Part of the reason for the Neelan policy is to help clarify that with respect to Neelan's tax.
Yeah.
So that at least, because the commission was concerned about fairness for other unimproved large land parcels within the district, that they would pay tax and HRC wouldn't. So the idea was, through the reconsideration, that the HRC parcels would be excluded, i.e. not within the district. But for those landowners that aren't protesting inclusion in the district, to allow for fully unimproved large land parcels to be able to apply for a tax exemption in the future based on a novel and difficult task of providing a definition of commercial forest land, which is undefined in the law. And so it would be a novel definition that they would have to develop. But the thrust of it would be to differentiate between improved, i.e. with structures, and unimproved without structure. And so that would be the task, and certainly happy to meet with the Neelan board to kind of go through what those options could look like. But in terms of the litigation risk, the recommendation of staff would be to exclude the HRC parcels to get over the threat of the litigation with respect to those parcels, but to allow some measure of fairness for other unimproved parcels within the district that are true commercial forest land as defined by the Neelan board.
Thank you. That's really clear, and I really appreciate that what you've brought back has that fairness element. I think that was something we were all struggling with. So that I feel like I'm clear on that. But I have one, not so much of a question, so much perhaps a proposal for Neelan for this commission to consider. But how about just a policy that says if you don't want to be taxed, it's voluntary? I mean, I feel like you said you had a lot of folks that showed up and that people wanted to be included in the annexation and they wanted to support the fire department. Why not just make the definition? If you think your timber harvest, you can be excluded. Like, that would just be no threat of litigation. You'll lose some folks, but okay, thank you for stepping up to answer that.
Yeah, one clarifying point. We would prefer that parcel is excluded. Maybe I misunderstood you, but for us, that would be precedent setting in that I think that the cattlemen's may begin to look at this issue. And I just think a lot of districts are going to be in real tough financial positions if we set the precedent that anybody who feels they could be defined as a commercial forest landowner, because we will be responding over 90% of the time for non-wildland. And no money to do it.
But you could pair that letter with a fee schedule. You can opt out of the tax if we respond. Here's the schedule for a response fee. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because I feel like we're sort of pickled because I think we're in a corner. I don't know how to get out of it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And Commissioner Kelly.
So I think, personally, I've been struggling a bit between the legal precedent on one side and, fairness to the local ratepayers on the other. And I think that's where the crux of this lies. I'm personally not super intimidated by the threat of lawsuits. However, I do think that they distract from the greater good. If we leverage our resources and our finances to fight a lawsuit, then there's, the opportunity cost. What are we giving up to do that? So I think that advocating for legislative action is something that we can do. I wouldn't want to kick this can down the road too far without the commission considering, and LAFCo, what can we do to help advocate for that? Mixed feelings about putting that definition and policy on Neelan. I think as I read this, I was like, well, wait a minute. I think if we're too small, they're definitely too small. And I would also probably vote for excluding the structure, because I think if our goal here is to, helicopter up and really try to make a change at the state level versus fighting a local, lawsuit for the next however long, then let's not kind of pick apart this and really, leave ourselves open to this lawsuit. So I guess my thought is that as difficult as this is from a fairness standpoint, and it's not very much money for HRC to contribute, that we should consider, kind of the big picture here and fight for change at the state level. So that's just my thought at the moment.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
both you and Lindsay said your preference is to exclude. Do you mean by that to include that developed parcel in the protest
Reconsideration.
or not to consider it?
Yeah, so my thought would be to go ahead and exclude that.
Along with the other 16.
Correct.
Okay, just to be
that
clear.
would be my thought. And
Both of you were saying that. Okay, include it. Commissioner Bushnell.
Thank you. So I have a question for Humboldt Bay Fire. Is he still there?
Yes.
No,
No,
he had-
actually, he had to leave.
Okay, so maybe Colette knows. With the letter that all the fire departments are receiving about they're not going to pay their taxation, are they saying that they're going to sue those fire departments?
No,
And
they're
my-
not. Sorry.
Okay, so my thought then is if we were to include the parcel with improvements on it, and they would probably just, I'm assuming with following structure what they've already done, they send a letter that says they're not going to pay, but it would be, it could be considered fairness. I know it's probably a risk, and I don't know how Ryan feels, but if they're not saying they're going to sue with the other fire departments, they're just not going to pay. What if we were to include that one developed parcel, because it kind of goes along with the rest of the developed parcels, and then they send a letter that says they're not going to pay, and then they just don't pay? What are the thoughts there?
Commissioner Bushnell, I can't speak for HRC, but if I had to guess what their response would be, I would say they would probably be more concerned about setting that precedent, given their overall campaign right now to stop paying on any of their parcels. This would allow other districts within Humboldt County in Northern California to point to HRC's concession of allowing this parcel from the LAFCo stage to be annexed as a precedent by HRC that structures make a difference with respect to this health and safety code provision, a position that they have yet not taken. So again, I can't speak for them, but if I had to guess, that would be the position that the company would likely take.
Okay, Colette, do you know if other parcels, I'm sure in the Humboldt Bay Fire area, there are structures on those parcels. Do you know that?
I think with the HRC specific parcels within Humboldt number 1 Fire Protection District's boundary, they're all undeveloped in that instance. And so, but I don't know about other HRC parcels throughout Humboldt County that's within districts, or in Mendocino County with Mendocino Redwood Company, if there's any other examples of improved parcels. I mean, Rio Del, this is where this is so new, but Rio Del Fire Protection District includes HRC's
Yeah.
mill. I don't know if that's included in the list of HRC owned parcel properties, or whether they would continue to support Rio Del's assessment of the industrial facilities.
Okay. Then I would have to say that I strongly support Commissioner Kelly's thoughts and Neelan's thoughts of excluding that parcel. Also, I don't feel that it is fair to ask Neelan to take on a policy writing structure when they are smaller than this LAFCo, and I do believe that legislation is where we define, get this redefined through legislation. Those are just my thoughts.
Commissioner Nicolini.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on Nealon's position. You'd rather we strike 5E, if I understand correctly. Is that
That's the underlined.
the one
Yes.
that underlined? Yeah.
Yes, that would be
Okay.
our preference.
And so then, thank you. I want to make sure I was clear on that. And then I feel like I'm hearing from staff that was really a way to try to bring some fairness to it. So I guess maybe the question for staff is, because I agree, I think legislation, working on the legislation is our priority, not fighting a costly lawsuit. Could the fairness element be really embodied in making sure, that folks know that we're going to try and change the legislation to make this more fair?
I think so too. And I do believe that we heard from Humboldt Bay Fire today that they're going to be looking at this
Yeah.
as well. So I think all districts that have assessments or taxes are going to have to consider how they administer this, and likely, potentially the districts will be adopting their own policies or clarifications. It doesn't need to be required, I guess. Neeland likely will be considering something, but by excluding it as a condition, this annexation can move forward.
And maybe the letters that went out is actually it's changed the playing field for us. We will have more agencies interested in helping us, and I really appreciate hearing the words from Cal Fire. Thank you so much for that. I feel pretty clear now. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other commissioners? Comments? Michelle, you've got your hand up still. Is that new? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Commissioner.
thank you. I was just going to take a stab at a motion, unless someone else wanted to, but
I'd like to do public comment first on this issue before we do.
We didn't do that?
Not on this particular agenda item, we did not.
Okay.
And it's a public hearing. So thank you for being prepared and ready, as always. And just a point of observation, Commissioner Bushnell is down at RCRC, and they certainly will also be a great ally. I'm sure this issue is probably just starting to get out there, like you said, as all these letters are going out. And I know that Commissioner Bushnell will be a strong advocate in that RCRC platform, as well as CSAC ultimately, as, allies in all this. Now at CSAC, that's all 58 counties. Not every county is dealing with this issue. But the Sierras and all the Coast Range certainly are. And that's a lot of counties. And RCRC represents a lot of those rural counties. So thank you for being there, Michelle. Appreciate it.
Just to kind of clarify that, Chair, the next conversation that I'm having today is stewarding California's forested lands, which is RCRC's big discussion today. So it kind of goes along right with this, and I'll be bringing this issue up.
I assume so. Thank you so much for being there. Yes, Lindsay.
Just briefly, and maybe you can speak to this more, but my understanding is HRC is also reaching out to the auditors in different counties. So they're bringing the counties into this as well as the fire districts. So
Yep.
I did check with the auditor's office for Humboldt, and she hadn't received a call yet. That was last week when I did check in with her. I think that HRC is, in their letter clarifying that they will no longer pay and to basically please take them off the tax rolls in future years. So the letter went out after the August 10th deadline for direct charges, so those will be placed on tax bills for this 2025 roll, but for future years they're asking them to be removed.
Thank you for that. And in previous discussions at this commission, the Mendocino case, which is some case law, so to speak, on this regard, was brought up quite a bit. And in that case, I believe they not only said we're not going to pay anymore, but they wanted reimbursement of past fees and taxes paid. While that may or may not have been included in these current letters that are going out, that certainly has been put onto the table in this discussion.
That's correct. It was a refund action, I believe, for the maximum statutory period of 2 or 3 years. I can't remember, but
Okay.
it was 4 years. Yeah, it was a refund action. Yeah.
Okay, we're not going back 40 years then. So that's good. I appreciate that. Any other commissioner comments? Okay, I want to go there next. But another legal clarifying question, I guess. at the county, we get threats of lawsuit all the time. I can't tell you how often, frankly. And it's not that we have deep pockets by any means, because we don't. Our general fund is hurting big time. All our budgets, our state budgets are hurting. Cities are hurting. Everybody's hurting right now. But in looking at our LAFCo budget, this was talked about in earlier meetings, we really don't have a significant line item for litigation. We just don't. We have for Ryan's services at meetings and on call for staff, et cetera, but we really don't have one. And I believe that's somewhat influencing, the pressure that we feel up here and the influence of this. At least my experience with lawsuits is that nothing happens quickly. It takes years for those things to come to fruition. And I'm not sure how much upfront cost there would be in this case. We talked about that a little bit maybe in the first or second hearing that we had on this. But, the legislative approach is something I'm hearing this commission feel pretty aligned with, taking that approach. And that might actually be a lot faster than the outcome of a lawsuit, frankly speaking. So there is the option or consideration, do we hold our ground on what's fair for all of the landowners and all the things? Because by excluding not only the 16th but also the 17th parcel, as was mentioned, not only in this district, but Arcata, 30%. I mean, this is going to be a really huge deal for all of our districts at a time when we're trying to build capacity of our districts in partnering with CAL FIRE to provide all these services in our community. So, one option is that we do hold our ground on what's fair and what's right and the rest of it, and we deny this request for reconsideration completely. And yes, maybe it sounds like a lawsuit would be filed. I don't know how much our costs would be up front in the first year or two, but I think this issue is so huge for our rural communities that it seems highly likely that a legislative fix will happen, because it's simply a matter of coming up with a definition, as well as you said, that other half of the consideration. I forget exactly what that was, the other half.
Just addressing whether commercial timberlands should be excluded.
Along with creating a definition, those
Along
two
with creating.
pieces. Yes, okay, great, thanks. So, that's just something that goes through my mind, is that, yeah, we might get sued, but should that be our deciding factor in what kind of a stand we take here? And I don't want to, somebody said this, we're small, yes, but Neyland's even smaller, and it's not going to stop with Neyland. It's already starting to happen all over the board. So that's certainly one option that we say no to, option one, which is to deny the reconsideration and stand our ground. And if we then have legal costs that are outside of our budget, that was my question, is do we then go back to all our member organizations and increase our fees? How do we cover those costs? At the county, it just comes out of our general fund, whether it's there or not, but what happens here? We haven't had a lawsuit forever and ever.
Well, I can answer the question about upfront costs.
Yeah.
This would likely take the form of a writ proceeding. And so there would be significant upfront costs to ready the administrative record and brief the issue before the Superior Court. And so, there's not going to be a lot of discovery costs because it's writ, so it's a record and it's briefing. And the briefing is where the cost is going to come, because it's, a detailed legal argument that needs to be crafted, potentially some expert witness declarations that would need to be obtained in order to provide factual context. So there would be a significant upfront cost for this type of case. Then there's the bulk of the cost that would come on the appeal side. One way or another, I think this case gets appealed, either by LAFCo or by HRC. And then, like I mentioned, I think last time, we have First Circuit appellate district precedent that we'd have to fight against. And then, obviously we need Supreme Court intervention if the first district decides to stick with its earlier ruling in the MRC case. as binding precedent on it. So there would be significant upfronts. As to how we obtain the funds, I'll defer to Colette on that because I don't think that's come up before. And whether or not we can do special assessments to our member entities is something that I don't know off the top of my head. But that seems like it'd be a necessary component to that strategy moving forward, would be supplemental assessment to fund the litigation.
Okay, before we go to you, Colette, are we talking tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands for the upfront preliminary costs?
Tens, not hundreds.
So 20 or 30,000.
Somewhere in that range, I would.
And that's definitely not in our budget right now, but it's not the end of the world. That's not like a massive amount.
Yeah, I mean, we have we have some reserves, but they're general reserves, so we don't have like a litigation fund per se,
Right.
but we do have general reserves.
Okay, and before we complete your responses, what would happen if we did deny the reconsideration and then we got sued with a writ? We developed the briefings, all those parts to it, et cetera. But then meanwhile, the legislature actually does a fix within the next year or two while this is all playing out in the courts. Let's say that then creates a really clear definition of commercial timberlands, as well as the other part that Colette was talking about. What then happens to the lawsuit?
Yeah, likely it would be moot, assuming the legislation didn't need court interpretation and was clear on its face, which is not always the case with legislation. The other alternative would be, the one hand, litigate unless and until we get legislative fix. The other would be pursue legislative fix and then annex those parcels that have been excluded without the need for the litigation component, assuming the legislation is, cures the issue. And that's an unknown. Chairman Joan, you may be spot on that a legislative fix is 2-3 years away. Writ proceedings may go faster than that.
Okay.
Just because there's not a discovery phase, there's briefing, and the court can set a briefing schedule pretty quickly, on a 6 to 9 month basis. And so we may be the case where the litigation is over before the prospect of a legislative resolution comes to fruition.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Sure.
In that case, if legislation did go through, the writ's completed, and the writ validated HRC's case, because as you said, there's case precedent already there with Mendocino, and would all these districts then have to go back and restart their annexation processes and the costs associated with all that as well?
Likely not. I mean, the district boundaries are what they are for other districts. HRC is just challenging
Being part of it.
the ability to tax them. They're not seeking to detach, and they're not seeking a judicial order of detachment. They're just saying we shouldn't have been included from the start, and therefore we're not going to pay. Okay. And that's consistent with what the Mendocino court found in the MRC case. For us, if legislative fix came, we could and would need to annex those HRC parcels if they are excluded through this commission's proceedings now.
Okay.
In order to include those within the district.
Okay. I appreciate that. And Commissioner Nicolini?
Could we use that same $20,000 for advocacy for legislative change?
Absolutely.
And
The
then-
commission could budget for
Okay.
legislative advocacy.
And then in legal counsel's opinion, which is a more fruitful use of the $20 to $30,000? I know you have a conflict of interest.
I was going to say, I look, we have binding precedent from our appellate district as to its interpretation of that health and safety code provision. That court left a lot to be desired on the contextual basis, and it doesn't appear that there was at least a vigorous opposing view from the district. At least it wasn't discussed in the case. The court simply said this is what the statute says, and therefore they shouldn't have been included. And so we have that fight to battle, and our superior court will be bound by that precedent. And so if you're asking me to handicap where your money's better spent, I think it's on a legislative effort than a litigation effort. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Great. Thank you for that. And Colette, did you want to add anything to, you mentioned that we have a reserve account, but depending on the cost of these things, it might be going back to our members for a, please
I
explain.
think there's a lot of uncertainty there based on how much the cost would be and how far it goes. So
Okay.
I can't speak to it per se.
Okay, great. All right. Have we exhausted Commissioner? Yes, Commissioner Weinreb.
Could I get a little clarification on exactly what you mean by legislative expenses for using this money? How would this money be spent to influence the legislative process? I'm sure we're not talking about bribes.
Just staff's time to meet. For instance, Commissioner Benzanelli had, was at a California Special Districts Association, another nonprofit that represents special districts throughout the state. And they have a legislative arm. And, so there's different, we talked about CSAC, we talked about these different associations that represent local governments and different types of local governments, including the California Fire Districts Association. So there's plus just coordinating on a local level and with our local representatives. And so I think there could be staff time to support any local coordination and collaboration with various agencies and associations. Okay, and that's in our resolution. So maybe I can speak to that. The commission in the resolution, the last section would say the commission hereby determines that the statutory restriction in Health and Safety Code 13811 creates ambiguities between CAL FIRE's wildland fire suppression responsibilities in state responsibility areas and local fire district responsibilities for structure fire protection, emergency medical response, rescue under fire protection district law. The commission further finds that this restriction is in conflict with the purposes and requirements of the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act, which directs LAFCo to promote logical boundaries, efficient services, orderly formation and development of local agencies. To address this conflict, the commission directs staff to return with opportunities for the commission to pursue legislative clarification of health and safety code in coordination with statewide associations, as well as county officials, local fire districts, CAL FIRE, and state representatives. So that is included in the draft resolution and for commission consideration.
Is this the draft resolution 2506?
Yep. Thank you. Any final commissioner comments?
The fire guy that Michelle wanted to talk to is back.
Yes, he is. Chief from Humboldt Bay Fire is back. Commissioner Bushnell, if you wanted to ask a direct question.
I think it got answered, but my question was whether HRC had threatened, with the letter you received that said they weren't going to pay, had they threatened litigation? And the second part was, do you have any improved structures on any of those parcels?
They did not threaten litigation. They just simply stated they're not going to pay anymore. And they are not requesting a refund from previous payments. And I am not aware, we haven't had a chance to research the parcels yet. There's 14 of them. We will look and see if there are any improved structures on those parcels. But we'll get that information.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming back. Yeah. Any final comments from commissioners before we go to the public comment? Seeing none, we'll open it up for public comment. Anybody here in the audience today? You've all spoken already. Thank you for your time here today. Anybody online?
Yes, we have one online.
Okay.
Yes.
online, you're up. 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, or good morning. My name's Stephen Johnson. I represent Humboldt Redwood Company. And I don't want to spend a lot of your time. I know you've spent a lot of time on this issue as well. I just want to state that Humboldt Redwood Company thoroughly appreciates your thorough review of these difficult issues. And I just want to clarify a couple of things. It's HRC's position that Health and Safety Code Section 13811 excludes their commercial timberland property from local fire districts, and it's their intent to just enforce that existing law. I think it's reasonable that they comply with the law, and in this particular case, the law does not require them to be part of the district. I also wish to state that in the letter that HRC sent to the fire districts, it states that the HRC highly values the services the local fire districts provide, and they intend on supporting them in other ways. They have contributed to fire districts financially, including successful matching funding campaigns and donations of land for additional firehouses. And they continue to do that. And they do not want to have a negative working relationship with the fire districts or the counties. And they intend on working closely with CAL FIRE and the fire districts to address any of these issues. However, they feel it's important that the law be complied with, and they will work collectively with those that are impacted by this law. But it is an existing law. There was an appellate case. It's a binding case, and it clearly evaluated the issue as far as it relates to what's defined in section 13811. That does not necessarily mean that it's 100% clear, and I appreciate the dilemma. However, I think it is clear as it relates to HRC, and given the fact that they are a commercially operated timber company. And so I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, I just want to thank you for your time, and I want to make clear that HRC will be continuing to work with the fire districts and CAL FIRE to work through these issues and to assist them with their needs.
Great, thank you for being here. Any other public comment online?
None.
Okay, bringing it back to the commission then, we'll close public comment. Commissioner Kelly.
Yes, I had a question for Mr. Johnson. First of all, thank you for joining us from HRC. I was wondering if you think HRC would consider a committed annual donation that was equal to or greater than the tax burden that they would incur if they were annexed, if their properties were annexed. Is that something that HRC you think would consider?
Well, based on their letter and my discussions with them, I know that they're interested in supporting the fire districts. I'm not at liberty to state, what that would consist of. I also am not aware of how much money they're effectively paying these different districts. But I think that they are definitely considering making donations to the districts, and I think that they appreciate the service that they receive the districts, and they want to continue to have a good relationship with the districts. But being put on the spot, I'm not in a position to comment on specifics.
I understand. Perhaps you can take that back to HRC and as part of a goodwill initiative to keep the relationship strong between the local fire district and HRC. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Bushnell.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I wanted to ask you a question as well, and you probably won't be able to answer this one, but if LAFCo was to include the one parcel that has the improved structure on it, do you know if it's the intent of HRC to sue either LAFCO or Neyland Fire District, or just not to pay?
I have not had any discussions with HRC regarding suing anybody. Um, I I would state that based on the section 13811, it states that commercial forest lands are exempt if they're in a state responsibility area and they're not part of the district. And then the section goes on to state that if they are part of the district, then the district shall be responsible for fire suppression and prevention for structures. So based on that statute, it would be my argument or my interpretation that, you know, if it's commercial forest land, whether there be structures on it or not, that it's not part of the district. But I have no specific knowledge about what HRC intends to do, and you know, I don't think they've actually evaluated that as well.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other commissioners? Well, I do very much appreciate both the precedence that has been set by HRC over many, many years, as well as Green Diamond and other companies, to provide donations to our fire districts. I liked what Commissioner Kelly said. How about a voluntary donation system? You know, put the action behind the words, so to speak, I guess. I mean, it's certainly, obviously, your intention to support the districts by donating the land for the fire department in Eland and many other actions you've taken over the years. It doesn't sound like it's really a financial issue at all because the burden is pretty small given the portfolios. But the bigger issue is the fairness issue for me in regards to all these other parcels that are also TPZ zoned or ag zoned and have timberland, commercial timberland, and are not, that don't have lawyers and are not here with the protest, not asking to be reconsidered. And so, like was said, snowball rolling down the hill is already happening. I mean, it's hard to say where this is all going to end. So what I heard you say is that, well, the law simply states that these lands are exempt. And that's really what's behind HRC's position, and I understand that. It is a law. And so I guess I would assume that if the law, if and or when the law changes and clarifies that exemption, that you'll be equally supportive of that at that time. And I'm just wondering, could we get a letter of support from you in regards to clarifying the exemption and the language around commercial timberland?
You're asking myself?
Yes. Mr. Johnson, please.
I'm not in a position to make any type of statement regarding that. However, I know that this is an issue that's being discussed at the HRC and MRC, and you know, I intend on having a discussion with them after this hearing, and so you know, I will discuss it with them. I also don't know what their discussions have been with CAL FIRE, and I think CAL FIRE has an interest in this as well. So I'm not individually in a position to make any kind of statement. However, I would inform you that, you know, Humboldt Redwood Company and Mendocino Redwood Company will discuss it and take certain actions to address the issues.
Very much appreciate you taking that back. Thank you. Gave you a couple of homework assignments, I guess. So with that, I'm not seeing any other commissioner. Oh, Commissioner Benzanelli.
Is there any way to get the CEO of Humboldt Redwoods on the phone or on Zoom to talk to the local LAFCo?
I'm not in a position to do that. I know that he's had communications with Neelan Fire District and expressed support for the Neelan Fire District. I think that the Humboldt Redwood Company and Mendocino Redwood Company do not have formal positions at this point to give authoritative statements relating to these issues. But I think that the discussion that we've had today will benefit all involved, and perhaps they can, you know, address them at a later date. I just don't think it's been something that's been thoroughly reviewed.
All right. Thank you for that. Yeah, we're all here trying to figure out how to move together and provide the best protection for our communities possible as partners across the board. So thank you for being here today. And with that, I believe Commissioner Bushnell was looking to make a motion.
I'll make the motion, but I'm not sure. We'll just see if it gets a second. So I would move that we, and I don't have the paperwork in front of me, I apologize, but move that we accept the annexation but exclude the 17 parcels that are HRC property, and work at a legislative fix on clarification of commercial timberlands.
Yes, and that is included in the resolution 06. And I guess the issue of 5E, which is the adopt a written policy, was the other issue.
So that would mean that Neelan, I would exclude that Neelan needs to work on a policy at this time and work on the legislative fix, which would be more encompassing of California timberlands.
So
Okay,
can
thank you for.
I'd like to second, but I want to make sure I'm clear. We're talking about 2506 with the exclusion of 5E.
Correct.
Then I second it.
And as an additional clarification, I believe this is what's listed under option 2 with the addition of removing 5E.
Yep.
And I see nodding heads from Colette and staff and commissioners. So we have a motion from Commissioner Bushnell and a second from Commissioner Nicolini. Any final comments from commissioners? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote, please, Crystal.
Okay. So we're voting to adopt resolution 25-06, excluding condition 5E.
That's correct.
Commissioner Benzanelli,
No.
Commissioner Weinreb,
Yes.
Commissioner Bushnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Madrone, or Chair Madrone,
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
and Commissioner Nicolini.
Aye.
Right there. Iced tea.
Motion carries.
We got an audio intruder.
I'm sorry, it's me. Colette. I'm on my phone and my computer's going to die. If you could let me in as a panelist on my phone.
Of course, thank you.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for that. Okay, well, the motion passes 6-1, and thank you all for being here today and for the commissioners' lively discussion on it. Obviously, this is not the end of this discussion, so we will stay tuned, and at a near future meeting, our staff will be bringing back to us, as is mentioned in the resolution, opportunities for legislative outreach and not lobbying, but educational efforts that we might engage in. So thank you for all that. Appreciate it. And so with that, we close the public hearing and we are on to our next agenda item, which is business items. 7A, designation of voting delegates for LAFCo, annual business meeting and board elections. The commission will consider designating active members of the commission as official voting delegates to represent Humboldt LAFCo at the annual LAFCo business meeting and during the upcoming board elections. And so that's the agenda item, and I believe most commissioners know that I'll be attending. And Commissioner Matthews was going to be attending, but cannot because of her tight schedule. And I believe Commissioner Bushnell was going to attend in her place. So those are the two members of the commission who will be attending. Not that that determines who the voting members are. So
Yeah, so thank you for that. And I appreciate you both attending the LAFCo conference in October and representing this commission. It's really important. There will be an annual business meeting at the conference, and there's some important items with regard to an item that I will make sure that Commissioner or Chair Madrone and Commissioner Bushnell will be fully aware of, but a amendment to the LAFCo bylaws. And then there will also be electing new LAFCo board members to fill vacancies that they have. So it'll be an important business meeting. And in this action before you today is just to designate the voting delegate and the alternate of the two that I would assume it would be the two that are attending in person.
Great. Thank you for that report. Commissioner questions, clarifications? Seeing none, we'll take online. No, seeing no hands, no input there. We'll open up for public comment here in the room. Any comment? Seeing none here. Bring it back to the commission for consideration of a motion. Anybody care to make a motion?
Yeah, I guess it would just be to move to approve the representation at the LAFCo regional meeting,
Yes, business meeting.
business meeting.
Yep.
And so I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, you need to designate a voting delegate and an alternate.
Okay, I would say Chair Madrone as the voting delegate and the alternate council member Bushnell.
Commissioner Bushnell.
Commissioner,
yes.
pardon me.
I know, we
I'm
have so
not
many
in a
different
council
titles.
meeting. Apologies.
Great. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got 2 seconds. We'll take Matthews, I heard first, but that's maybe my right ear is better than my left. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Okay. Commissioner Bushnell.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Chair Madrone.
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Aye.
Commissioner Nicolini.
Aye.
Commissioner Benzanelli.
Aye.
And Commissioner Weinreb.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And moving on, we have item 8.
Chair?
Yes, please.
I believe that concludes the business items today, and I would like to jump off the meeting. If Ryan, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. We still have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for taking the time out of the meeting down there. Appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Great. Okay, item 8A, which is preview of proposed Humboldt County Service District North McKay Ranch annexation. And I imagine we have a staff report for this one.
Yes, thank you. So this is a preview of the annexation submitted by the Humboldt Community Services District for the North McKay Ranch subdivision project. This has been a long time coming. I went back to look at how far I've been involved in some way regarding this. And I first met with the district, Kramer Investment Corporation, and the county in 2017 regarding this. In 2018, the commission approved a single connection, an out-of-district connection for both water and wastewater services to a residence on the subdivision property. It was for just to proceed with a single residential development prior to just knowing that this full subdivision would take years to complete. And the commission did approve and support that single out-of-district extension of water and wastewater services. And then, since then, the draft EIR was first released, Humboldt County being the lead agency for purposes of a general plan amendment, zoning reclassification, tentative subdivision map, and planned development permit. And that was first circulated in May of 2020. Then they recirculated the draft EIR in December of 2021. Starting in early of 2022, really started working very closely with HCSD on drafting their application materials and helping answer questions regarding their resolution and what goes in the resolution, the plan for services, and other aspects of the LAFCo application, and have been involved in just providing any questions and support since then. Even prior to 2017, this has been, part of the Eureka Community Plan in some form, which was in 1995 that was adopted. And the Eureka Community Plan had first established land uses within. It's formerly timberland. It's now been rezoned, but had identified the territory and substantial areas within the greater Eureka area plan for some form of residential development. With that, I wanted to provide this initial look at the application and annexation before you. This will be brought before the commission at a later date for considering action on the annexation. We're still in the process of reviewing the application. Staff has submitted referrals to affected and interested agencies upon receiving the full application, has also initiated the notification to the county auditor and assessor to proceed with the property tax exchange process, and that is still in progress. That would be providing for, in revenue and tax code, providing for possible tax increment for HCSD, since they would be providing services to an area that has not been provided services. And so tax increment can be afforded as part of the revenue and taxation process in 9901. So I'll keep you posted on that process. With regard to the annexation area, there is a figure in your packet. Wanted to, and I think it's really important to show that the subdivision itself, part of the subdivision, I think it's 4 parcels, is within the existing district boundary. It's within HCSC's boundary today. And the boundary also splits 2 of the Redwood Fields ball field parcels. So there's 2 ball field parcels, and their boundary right now splits those 2. And so resulting for this subdivision is to annex 5 parcels, including 1 ball field parcel. This is a 100% consent proposal. We received letters of consent supporting annexation from both Kramer Properties and Redwood Fields. Let's see. The staff report also identifies that there is a parcel adjacent to the annexation area that currently receives out-of-district water services, and that's on, I did not get the APN call out in your packet, so apologies, but it is up here. So APN 017071002 is developed with a single family residence, and my understanding is water infrastructure, and there's an existing laterals that go through the project site. And so a condition that HCSD has requested is to maintain service to that property. HCSD, upon annexation, would be providing water services, wastewater services, and street lighting services. And so we go into detail in the municipal services section regarding their ability and capacity to provide those services. And the other service providers in the area is Humboldt No. 1 Fire Protection District. This territory is within their district boundary, so there would not need to be any parallel annexation for fire services. that's already supported. The county would be providing road maintenance services as part of this subdivision and any new streets, and as well as stormwater. And then we outlined other services, including law enforcement, which would be, this will be unincorporated. And so the county would be providing law enforcement. The project, the subdivision itself, dedicates approximately 21 acres, almost 22 acres of open space to Humboldt County for long-term trail management and public use. And so that dedication is part of the subdivision approval process. We included the proposed terms and conditions within the staff report per the request from Humboldt Community Services District. So they have conditions related to water, and that the developer shall ensure that prior to issuance of a building permit for any residential or commercial structures, that there would be the installation of a new 250,000 gallon water tank at the Ridgewood tank site. And this would need to be constructed and installed prior to phase 2. So phase 1 would allow for that to proceed prior to these larger scale infrastructure investments. And there's also a 12-inch 12-inch upsizing of a water main within the Walnut Drive right-of-way between Holly and Cypress. That is also will be required prior to phase 2. The third condition would be that the developer shall enter into and comply with the mainline extension agreement with Humboldt Community Services District for water and wastewater infrastructure. So that's their policies. And for street lighting, if street lighting services are to be provided by Humboldt CSD, the developer shall install all necessary infrastructure at no cost and establish a street lighting assessment zones. And so street lighting likely to fund street lighting services would be through an assessment district. And there could be zones, so where the assessment district would be phased as well with regard to the phasing of the subdivision. And the sixth condition is comply with all conditions of approval set forth by Humboldt County. And then the seventh condition is to complete the property tax exchange process. And upon effective date of annexation, the territory would be subject to all previously authorized charges, fees, assessments, and taxes, as well as all rates, rules, regulations, and ordinances of the district. I think, lastly, with regard to environmental review, LAFCo would be, it is a responsible agency for purposes of the environmental review and the EIR that was completed for the North McKay Ranch subdivision project. And so we would be relying on that as part of our action on the annexation project. Included in the staff report in attachments is the district's plan for services, which was submitted with their application. The notice of filing or referral, the agency referral that LAFCo sent out upon receipt of the application. The city of Eureka did submit a comment letter, and that's the only to date. And then the notice of property tax exchange that LAFCo sent out as well is attachment D. With that, we may have some attendees online. I do see Kurt and others that, I see TK from the district. I'm going to promote a few to panelists. And so if there's any questions to TK Williams, which is the district manager, for Humboldt Community Services District. And Kurt Kramer is available also to answer any questions about the subdivision project and any questions for staff at this time.
Okay, any questions from any commissioners at this point? Commissioner Kelly? No? Yes.
I think it may answer my own question when I ask it, but what was going through my head was the relative responsibilities of LAFCo versus the Humboldt County Planning Commission, and I think we're only considering annexation. Is that correct in this body?
Yes.
So okay, answered my own question. Thank you.
We are relying on the county's EIR that was done for this area.
Yeah, I think it was as you were talking about street lighting, we're looking at maybe establishing dark skies initiatives and different things like that. And so, I kind of had my planning commission hat on, and we'll just set those kind of thoughts aside and focus on annexation. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And it's always a great reminder that yes, LAFCo does not have land use authority, and that rests with the counties and the cities. With regard to lighting, let's just say, because that is such a new ordinance of the county, the Dark Skies Initiative, as a condition of subdivision approval, the developer, as part of the development agreement, will be submitting a lighting and landscaping plan to the county, again, upon each phasing. So there's a whole development agreement between the county and the property owner regarding the subdivision phasing and what's required but with regard to the annexation, which is before the commission and is the commission's purview, is specific to the annexation boundary and Humboldt Community Services District's extension and support of services for water, wastewater, and street lighting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner questions? We'll go ahead and we're going to call on Mr. Williams to see if you have anything to add to the discussion. There you go.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the commission this morning. I'm honestly don't have anything to add to the discussion at this time. The Humboldt Community Services District Board did consider this pretty thoroughly. There was a vote to move forward on April 8th and adoption of resolution on it was May 13th of this year, and here we are finally in front of the LAFCo Commission, so we appreciate it.
Great. Thanks for being here today. Any questions for Mr. Williams? Seeing none from commissioners. Next, I'll call upon the subdivision landowner, Mr. Kramer. Welcome, Mr. Kramer. Would you like to make any comments? Okay, no comments, Mr. Kramer. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to public comment. Does the public have any input? Seeing none in the room. Any online? None? Okay, we'll bring it back to the commission. And the recommendation from staff is that the commission receive this report as an informational item only, hold discussion, and provide any direction to staff as appropriate. Once the property tax exchange process is complete, staff will bring this annexation back to the commission for consideration and potential action. So no action necessary at this time.
So moved.
Okay. Moved. Is there a second to that recommendation is what I'm assuming.
Yes, I'm so
I'll
moved.
second that.
Staff recommendation.
What the chair just said.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. And we have a second by Commissioner Matthews. Okay, roll call vote, please.
I think we can just do voice vote since we don't have Commissioner Bushnell anymore. But Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, one, it's a receive and file, so we could just do it based on unanimous consent. But if we are going to take a vote, I would recommend we do a roll call vote just because the meeting started that way.
Okay. Is there anybody opposed to unanimous consent?
No, but before we do that, I
Yep.
did see Mr. Kramer unmuted,
He
and
found
so
his
maybe it was
unmute
more of
button.
a technical challenge there. So yeah, you're able to unmute again. Great.
Okay, Mr. Kramer, welcome.
Technical.
Fun with technology.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's next time.
Okay, so we'll see you at the next time this comes forward. And I just want to applaud you for your fortitude and patience in pursuing this housing proposal. We desperately need it. I know the county put a lot of requirements on you, and it's not getting any easier to build housing. I applaud the district for its efforts to work on helping to create this housing and bringing it forth to LAFCo. Thank you, LAFCO staff, as well. So look forward to this coming before us in a full packet at a near future meeting. All right, with that, do we have unanimous consent on this item?
Yes.
Okay, seeing nodding heads all the way around. All right, great. So our next item is 8B, status of municipal service review preparations.
And I'm going to punt this one to Crystal.
And it's your floor, Crystal.
Wonderful, thank you. So right now we are working on 2 MSRs. We are still working on the City of Eureka MSR. With other things that have been going on this summer, we've taken a little bit of a pause on it, but we'll be diving back in. We need to meet with the city to discuss potential sphere options moving forward, and then just get some a little bit of additional information about their wastewater services and water services, and then we should be able to wrap that up fairly quickly. We are also starting the Scotia Community Services District MSR. We're in the very early stages, setting up a template, gathering some information, and we'll be setting up a meeting with the district soon so that we can proceed with that one. That is all I have for you today.
Great, thank you. And we do have a handout for this item in our packet that has some more details on, I think Scotia's included there. So thank you, Crystal. And with that, I guess 8C, status of current and future proposals. Back to staff.
I don't have a lot to add. Our active proposals or applications on file are in Eland and Humboldt Community Services District annexations, and we've discussed those at length today. And we will be continuing staff will be bringing forward a legislative staff report at some point to discuss the commercial forest lands and how we may proceed, as well as just continued fire services coordination efforts. I will say that with regard to that front, we've met with the Fire Chiefs Association representatives just in the last couple of weeks for each region, and just really wanting to check in with regard to long range vision and capacity needs for fire departments in the north, in the south, in the Eel River Valley, and so those just continued coordination with the Fire Chiefs Association, and making sure that the Measure Z work plan that provides the technical assistance continues to reflect their needs. And so we met on that this week. Then we will be taking forward that work plan and meeting with the Board of Supervisors, Fire Services ad hoc soon. So just really good coordination among the county, the chiefs, and continuing to discuss the list of needs for our fire service providers.
Great, thank you for that. And yeah, the legislative fix is going to tie into these goodwill areas in a pretty major way, whether they can move forward or not. And included in that is emergency medical services on our state highways and the big void that creates with huge burdens on our volunteer fire departments like Blue Lake, Willow Creek, Dinsmore area, Bridgeville, et cetera, to try and respond to those areas. And as was mentioned earlier, 90% of these calls are medical, especially along these highways. So bunch of puzzle pieces to try and figure out. So appreciate staff's efforts on that. Any commissioner comments? Okay, with that, I guess we have unanimous consent to receive and file the report? Seeing nodding heads all the way around. Okay, was there any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none in the room, anything online? Okay, great. We're moving on to number 9, Executive Officers Report.
We included the legislative update that LAFCo tracks within the packet. I'm not going to go into detail, but good reading if anyone's interested. Also, the LAFCo conference is coming up, and so we'll keep you posted on the great session topics and anything we learn, and keep the commission updated there. I don't have any other updates at this time.
Great. I see there is one there, SB 489, Streamlining Act around housing development and stuff. So a lot of really important issues in this. Very much appreciate the summary of various things, and I'm sure we'll be delving into that at LAFCo quite a bit. Has things settled down at LAFCo a bit? There was quite a bit of stir last year.
You know, they are going through a full. No, I think and thank you for this. LAFCo did lose members. They lost members, and I think that those members are hoping that change will be made at the LAFCo association level, and that they will come back. And it's the hope of everyone, the membership at large, is that everyone will stay united. So with that, the LAFCo is working really. They now hired an interim executive director, and that will be really great. I mean, that's really important. We had Jose from an executive officer from Sacramento LAFCo filling in the LAFCo executive director seat while he was doing his LAFCo duties at Sac LAFCo. I mean, so just the support at the staff level, I think, will be tremendous. They're also looking at a restructuring plan, and that would look at, how the board of directors is currently based by regions, as well as should the board of directors have the representation and the structure that they currently have. A lot of the concerns is around the LAFCOs that pay a lot more not feeling like they have the similar weight at the LAFCO level. And so there's a lot around the restructuring possibly in addressing those concerns. And I think you will be learning a lot at the LAFCO conference.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, and it does sound like it'll be a lively meeting for sure. Any comments from commissioners on this executive officer's report? Okay, and I don't believe we need any action there. Written correspondence, there's none. So unless there's any other business from the commission, we are adjourned at 11:04 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We had a full commission. That's great.